Morning. Okay, so these are solutions to exam 2 study questions. And if I appear to be looking at the camera kind of oddly, I'm trying to focus in on this tiny screen to see. It looks like it's going in and out of focus, but I have no idea because I can't see that tiny screen. Anyway, so I'm going to try to post solutions to these. I wrote up some, but I think it'll just be faster and probably more beneficial if I just solve these for you. So, number 1 is we have the cotangent of theta minus the square root of 3 times 2 sine of theta plus the square root of 3 equals 0. So, it's already factored for us. All we need to do is set both factors equal to 0 and solve. So here, if we set this factor equal to 0, we get the cotangent of theta is equal to square root of 3, right? I'm just setting it equal to 0, adding square root of 3 from both sides. And here, I would subtract, set it equal to 0, subtract square root of 3 from both sides, and divide by 2. And I would get sine of theta equals square root of 3 over 2. Okay, let's see how that goes. So here, in my, you can think about the cotangent. That's fine. I like the cotangent. That's good. But we could also think of this as 1 over the tangent. I think of tangents more. And generally, I memorize the special angle values for the tangent, not the cotangent. Although they're not hard, it's just, I think it's less thinking, and it's not a bad exercise. So if the cotangent equals 1 over the tangent, and that equals the square root of 3, then by simple cross multiplication, or by multiplying both sides by the tangent of theta, and dividing both sides by the square root of 3, I would get the tangent of theta equals 1 over the square root of 3. Now I want to know, where does theta equal 1 over the square root of 3, where does tangent of theta equal 1 over square root of 3 on the unit circle? Because we're solving these, the instructions, I didn't write that here, but we're assuming theta is on the interval from 0 to 2 pi not included, so that we're not repeating our answer for 0. But anyway, so we know, and I wrote this a little too low. These are just the solutions. So I hadn't written anything there, so no big deal. The only big deal is that I do not have an eraser readily handy. Yes, I do. Here it is. So let's see how much of this. Okay, so can I put it right here? Yeah. So we'll record our data set here, or our solution sets here. So can I see this? Yeah. I need to move this camera down in the future because I'm losing some board here. Right? Okay. So right over here. Maybe that's what I'll do. So I get my special angle values off the pi over 3, pi over 6 right triangle with sides root 3, vertical side root 3, horizontal side 1, and hypotenuse 2. And that's pi over 3. Actually, I'll get all of my values off of these two. I'm just looking at the values here. So the tangent is opposite over adjacent, and I see that the adjacent side of pi over 6 is root 3, and the opposite side of pi over 6 is 1. So therefore, the tangent of theta will equal 1 over root 3 at pi over 6. Now that's the first time, I guess, if you want to say, on the interval from 0 to 2 pi that it equals 1 over root 3. We know that pi over 6 is a reference angle, and we know that the tangent is positive, so we already have this answer. We know it's positive in quadrant 1. We also know that it's positive in quadrant 3 because it is in fact, the tangent is sine over cosine, and both y and x are negative in quadrant 3, therefore their quotient, a negative over a negative, is a positive. So we need to add pi over 6 to 180, or pi. Well, pi over 6 plus pi is 6 pi over 6 plus pi over 6, which is 7 pi over 6. You could also just count it off. Okay, so now we want to do, so this is for this one. Now we want to do the sine of theta equals negative root 3 over 2. Again, we know that this is the reference angle here will be pi over 3 because the sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2, and we have this number here, root 3 over 2. The only thing we need to think about it to get our angle is actually this negative. Well, we need to know where the sine is negative. Well, we know that the sine is negative in quadrant 3. And let me actually draw these angles a little bit more suggestively. In quadrant 4. The angle with the reference angle in quadrant 3 of pi over 3 is 4 pi over 3. And the angle with the reference angle of pi over 3 in quadrant 4 is 5 pi over 3. And hopefully this entire data set. You can't really see my little curly bracket at the end, but I think you can get all the answers. Anyway, that's how you do it. I actually have these printed out, so I will be printing these solutions so you can check your answer. But anyway, there it is. Thanks a lot. Hope that it's in focus.